says, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to rumble?
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Did everything start up okay? Alright, we got YouTube going now. Twitch is going. And let's see here. Yeah, wow. I'm running a little hot there. Let me go turn my volume down a little bit. Woo! Let's see if that works a little better. Alrighty. I'm still hot. Alright. Wow. My age. Yeah. Alright, let's see. We got a few people coming in over on chat. We got, looks like, some new people. So, yeah, we got Brad from Ottawa. Dwayne from Bristol, PA. Some dude named Dave, BNSF. He's N-Scaler. Said Phoenix. I don't know. Is that Ohio or Illinois or something? Hey, Possum, how you doing? Michael? Brian? Dwight? John? Yep, all the usual suspects.
Phoenix, I don't know.
Let's see if Jim's there.
Hey.
All right.
What's going on, Colin?
Hey, Chris, how you doing? Jason, you doing all right?
Yep, doing all right.
Yeah, Dave, BNSF, said it's a hot one. Yeah, you got that right. We hit 91 here in Georgia. Phew. I was looking at the extended forecast. We're going to be in the 90s until October 3rd. Oh, man. That's a long time off, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Week.
Yeah. Dan said he couldn't join us tonight, but have a good time.
Okay.
I guess he's got to be at work early tomorrow, so. Gonna see what's going on there. Before we get too far along, like Big Bill said last night at the beginning of his show, one of our own, Chris Reed, lost his dad over the weekend. I think it was last weekend. Sorry to hear about that, Chris. And
Yeah, he did post something today, thanking everyone.
oh, did he?
For,
Okay.
Yeah, he did. On Facebook, he did. He said thank you for all the condolences and all that messages.
Yeah.
So he heard us.
Yeah. Here we go. I think this is going to be the same person. Limping through models with Nathan. Is that you, Nathan? How you doing? We hadn't seen hide and hair of you for a little while. Hope you're doing okay. He said good evening and all. Nathan's a big scratch builder. He even builds his own locos.
Oh, that's crazy. Does he have got a YouTube channel? I want to see some of his scratch build logos. That's craziness.
Yeah. Well, Nathan's, I think he's got a small mining layout, about maybe 6 feet long. He takes the running gear and uses tin cans and builds his own shells and stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron Boyce from down under. So now we got Canada and Australia and in here. Different Nathan. Okay. Well, welcome to the show. I think this is your first time, isn't it? I don't remember the name. Of course, I am bald and have a hard time keeping things in nowadays, so, you know. Big Ken, he just popped in. Alright, we're getting the start up on the winter, so what you guys in the chat got planned for this winter? Building any structures, adding to the layout?
Oh, that's the funny thing, isn't it? That was in the winter time. To me, that's more, because I live in the South like you. It's more time to be outside than it is in the summertime. I'd rather be working on the layout when it's 100 degrees outside.
Yeah. Yeah, especially now, boy. I tell you what, this, I don't know, I think this is the first time we've had this hot of weather this long.
I mean, I live in the armpit of the United States, so, I mean, it stays like this, like, whatever, until November.
Yeah.
So, but I'm waiting for that first 70-degree day to go spend outside and go fly a remote control airplane or something.
Yeah, Limping Through Malls said, long time watcher, first time chatter. Hey, that's good. We'll get you here in the chat, get you going, and the next thing you know, we're going to have you here on the panel, too. What you say, Andy?
Gentlemen.
Adrian just popped in. How you doing? It's a hot one for him.
Chris.
Michael. So you got here a little earlier tonight. Good. Yeah, Ron said he's wiring up track feeders to his bus. You putting anything on YouTube, Ron? I'll admit I hadn't gone and looked at any videos in a while, so I'll have to go look, see what you're doing. Need check, see what CSX Mad's doing too. I haven't seen nothing from him in a long time. I think YouTube's cleared out a bunch of my notifications. I have to go back and redo them.
Yeah, he's out of Australia. He's still posting. I just watched the video.
Oh, okay. Hey, Bob. He just
Hey, how's it going, guys? Trying out this new website we're on.
You've been here before, hadn't you?
Not in the Whereby one. When they changed it, you know.
I mean, all they did is change the name. They didn't change anything else. But.
Well, this time I had to set up my camera and microphone and everything else and allow it. So I never had to do that before.
Well, he didn't appear too.
Yeah. Well, when they changed it, I never logged on, so I never had to do it.
Yeah.
So when they changed it, I had to do it all over again.
Yeah, it's just like Trainmaster TV. They've had to make those changes, so now everybody's got to re-log back in again.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's going to be a much better system, though. The software is better, the web service is better, the app is better. It's going to be a better experience.
Yeah, that's good. All right, before I forget, and before we get too involved, now that Ralph's in here with Andy, what's the outcome on that video and all, Bob, that you did?
Oh, the one about the bridge?
Yeah.
Well, I'm working on part 2 right now, and probably should hopefully have that up this weekend.
I mean, did you get the video off to that girl, or?
Oh, that video. Yeah, we've been communicating a lot lately. She is going to get the video, but she was going to send me some other pictures and stuff like that, and I was going to add a bunch of stuff into a little bit special video for her.
Oh, okay.
We're still kind of working on out the details and stuff. We were trying to get together at some point in time, probably in Kansas City or whatever, But her schedule's busy. My schedule's, somewhat flexible. So we're going to work it out.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
No.
Dave BSF. He said, Let's start the fireworks.
begin.
I guess now that Ralph and Andy are here.
Yep.
No fireworks.
No, just smoke bombs.
Yeah. Couple of M80s here and there.
Drop the topic of discussion tonight. What is the debate going to be about?
Yeah, I went
Good
in
question.
town today because I had a couple of errands to run, stop, pick up mail. I was kind of hoping I'd had an envelope from BTS, and I didn't. So I guess they had to walk that mail out of West Virginia.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember the last time I was in here.
Yeah. Nathan limping through models. He said, working on putting down a 2-year-old. Model-wise, I'm working on a couple of Craftsman kits. Hey, what kind of Craftsman kits you doing there, Nathan?
I think Joe might work on the 2-year-old.
Yeah, he'll get that one down first, then come back.
I was trying to figure out why he was putting down a 2-year-old. I'm like, what'd he do? It's the first thing I thought of. Like, what?
It's been a long time for you, Bob, hasn't it?
It has been.
He broke a leg, Bob. That's what you got to do with 2-year-olds when
Yeah.
they break a leg now.
Yeah. Especially after winning the Kentucky Derby and then going limp.
Yeah. It happens.
Nathan said Campbell and Bar Mills. Okay.
I think the last time Bob was on was the week after the RPM, I think.
Yeah, probably was.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
was that like a month ago?
No, it was a couple months ago.
No,
Yeah.
he was on like a month ago.
Yeah, I think it probably was in about a month ago.
Yeah, you were in about a month ago.
Yeah.
Can't
Well, I
remember why.
mentioned his name, and lo and behold, he pops in. CSX Mad. How you doing? Been a little while. What you got going on down there in Australia? Ron popped in here. He's in here somewhere. He's lurking in the chat.
Me and Ron Brights.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple Rons I know.
Yeah. Well, how many down under?
Probably one.
Ron Brights.
Probably just one.
Yeah.
Looks like somebody's getting ready to put some HO scale cork down. Chris is.
No, that's me. Yeah. Well, it's kind of just up there out of the way. I moved it from where it was over there.
Got a bunch of figures sitting out too, right there.
It's because they were in the way where they were at. I had to move stuff from one side to the other.
Yeah.
I have yet to find a home for everything. Moving on to this room or whatever, I mean, I got a pile of stuff on my bench. I still have yet to find a home for it.
Well, once it starts coming together, you'll get there.
Yeah. And I had pulled those out because they were sitting on where my paint bench is, and I was doing something else, so they were in the way, so they got thrown up there. And then the cork started using it, and then I'm like, no, because here we go for a debate. Got the two guys on the channel. OSB, plywood, or MDF? Go.
OSB.
Plywood.
Foam.
Anything
Foam wasn't one of the options.
Any
Oh,
other choice.
MDF, if it's MDF, it has to be at least 3/4 of an inch, or it's going to sag if you don't have it supported properly.
Yeah, you have to support.
And it gets wet. It'll
Yeah, that
boost up too.
you
OSB suffers from the same exact symptoms as that. Personally, I'd stay away from OSB hands down. Barna, that'd be the least option I would use. No matter what, I would never use OSB. Falls apart.
What's enlighten me? I don't like acronyms. What's OSB?
Oriented strand board. So
It's
it's
like-
big.
this-
Oriented strand board is big
okay,
chips
yeah.
of material.
Yeah, I
And
know what it
it's
is. I know
fine
what it is.
if you use entire sheets of it. It's meant to be used with entire sheets. The moment you get to it, you break pieces up and it starts peeling up in little layers. And it doesn't work at all for ribbon road bed or cookie cutter methods of construction. Personally,
No, it makes great patterns. So I printed out paper and I was gonna lay it on something and I'm like, well, I need something cheap and OSB is cheap,
cardboard,
right? To make
cardboard or Luan.
yeah, well, I didn't have cardboard and I'd have to go find cardboard or whatever. I'd go buy a half inch piece of OSB for $13, right?
Or a piece of Luan for $6.
Yeah, well, I didn't think about Luan. It was right there in front of the store when it was. So I grabbed a couple of sheets and I made a pattern. All of this stuff that's on there, it's laid out. It's not screwed down. It's all just kind of sitting up there clamped loosely or whatever. But now the next step is to make the permanent thing. So it's either taking this OSB, pulling it out, painting it, and sealing it in that way, or it's going to buy a piece of MDF, cutting it out, painting it, and sealing it that way, or it's going to buy a sheet of plywood. So
the problem with
the whole topic comes down to is, out of those three choices, obviously OSB, you have thumbs down on that. Ralph has thumbs up on plywood. You know, I mean, it's longevity. You know,
can't go wrong. Plywood has in the defense of plywood has stood the test of time. It has worked for model railroaders for 80 years, 90 years, however long plywood's been around, we've been using it. It works, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to do anything additional as long as you buy strong enough plywood. So, an AC grade, whatever they call that, pine, birch, or fir, the three types of wood that you can get plywood.
Yeah.
Any of those is fine. I'd recommend 3/4. I'd personally recommend AC because the cost difference is about $3 a sheet, and it's just a lot more pleasant to work with.
have you priced the difference of it lately?
Yeah, well,
it goes from $20 a sheet to $36 a sheet.
Well, I'll get some prices so I have some comparison. The last time I priced it was.
I was just in Home Depot and it was $36 a sheet here.
Yeah, last time I priced it at Menards, sheeting grade or a CX grade sheeting or a form grade, concrete form grade, the cheapest plywood you can get, which is going to be could be potentially warped. It's not true. It's not smooth. Was about $8 cheaper, and then CC grade, which is hard to come by, used to be really prevalent. But these days, the difference at most of the stores, at least around here, is you can get CX, form grade, or AC, and that's the only two that they carry in Form A sheet material. That difference was about $8 or $9, $7 or $8, $9, something like that. But if you can find CC plywood, the difference is about $4, give or take, in my experience.
Yeah.
Now, you don't need that much plywood, even for a layout your size, if you're very intelligent with your layout. And since you're building templates, cutting templates, you can take all those templates and position them around on the plywood until you have as little waste as possible.
Exactly.
Couple sheets of plywood, even if it's $35 a sheet, you're $70.
It's going to be two sheets, that I know. And that's,
Now,
I have it cut out in 2 sheets of OSB right now. And the thing of it is when I cut the patterns, like some of the bigger curves and stuff like that are in 3 and 4 pieces, and I want to just get them down to 1 piece in the curves,
Well, you can still have 3 and 4 pieces. Do you have a biscuit joiner?
Yeah. No.
Join them with a biscuit joiner.
Yeah,
That's what I did in my Helix.
Yeah, I got one of those cheesy ones that fit on the end of a Dremel or whatever. So I have to actually see if it's still any good.
So a quick reference, they do have, but you have to, okay, so they had Menards, excuse me, Menards, which is the cheapest, has sheathing grade plywood, which is, CX plywood or whatever, is the cheapest stuff available at $21, basically.
Yeah.
That's the cheapest stuff.
And then AC is like $34.
Yeah, you can get BCX, which is above the cheaper grade I was talking about a moment ago, for $30, and you can get 4x8 ACX for $40, so $10. If you're buying 2 sheets, the price difference you're talking about in the qualities is $20. Boy, AC plywood's sure a lot more pleasant to work with, and you don't have to skim coat it with anything to try to get a smooth surface for your cork, or it's just. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not strictly a believer in plywood. I just know that it is a known quantity. You can't go wrong with it. MDF is entirely usable. The only disadvantage to MDF, in my opinion, is that you need to support the MDF between the risers, which you can do with 1x2s. You can do it with furring strips, which are like $1.65, I think.
Oh no! I mean,
also, they were $1.65 for an 8-foot, which is a 1.5 by roughly half-inch strips, and you can turn those laterally and run them between your uprights and get, it's approximating spline road bed, which, in my personal opinion, I don't think there's any road bed at all as superior as spline road bed. It is the single best way to build on a railroad road bed. And all of your most of your very, very serious modelers who build with traditional construction methods, spline road bed's the name of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I've built it, and it's more for sound than any.
Well, and spline road bed is cheap as dirt. Part of the reason that it's so awesome is, one, perfectly flowing curves. It has a tremendous amount of lateral strength, horizontal lateral strength, and beautiful flowing curves. There's no waste. I mean, zero or very close to zero waste. If you build it out of pine strips, the way Bill Scobie does on his SN3 layout, he does it with pine strips the way it was done 50 years ago. Joe Fugit does it with masonite. The club up in Minnesota that I forget the name of right now, really large, 5,000 square foot, modern era BNSF and other layout, is using Homosote spline, which I love, but not everybody loves Homosote. So, but you can't. Spline road bed is spectacular. It's stupid cheap. I mean, you can build a whole layout with a $6 sheet of MDF cut into 1-inch strips.
Yeah,
North Metro Model Railroad Club.
I want to jump in here for a second. Phil, that layout was called the Time Saver.
Yep.
He was asking what that was that Ralph mentioned last night.
You'll get a whole series of time saver layouts. The original was by what's his name?
John Allen.
John Allen. And then there's a whole bunch of variants of it. And the original was approximately 7 feet long, and I think it had 6 switches in it.
Sounds about right. But John Allen was really strict about saying, and others have said, it is not at all prototypical. It is
No, it's not.
chess.
It's just a time saver puzzle.
It's a game.
A railroader's way of playing chess with trains.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And they've got apps for that on your phone. They've got the Time Saver app. You can get an app for your iPhone or Android called Time Saver, and you can play it. It is a game. It's not prototypical or realistic. The switching, there's the small switching style layouts that have become popular in the last decade or so amongst more prototypical modelers is called an eagle nook, spelled with an E. Really simple, and eagle nooks are real popular. If you're building a super small layout, eagle nooks are spectacular. As you start,
They're still 7 feet. They're still 7 feet.
It could be. Some of the guys have been building eagle nooks in 1x3 sections, HO scale eagle nooks in 1x3. Now that's really dense, but 1x3 feet, you can build an eagle nook, and a really nice, enjoyable eagle nook, 5 foot by 5 foot, be just fine. But it's a little simplified.
Well, we got an absentee here that just showed up for been out for a little while. Ron Strange Things. How you doing, Ron?
Mm-hmm.
He's in the U.S., Bob. If you
I think
since
so.
you
I
hadn't
think I remember
talked to
that
him,
one.
yeah, you hadn't talked to him in a while, so
Yeah.
yeah, he's not one of the Australian Rons.
Mm.
Now we got Ron sitting over. Huh? What are they
Now,
talking
now I
about?
remember. Yeah. Well, I don't know. If you want to save money on your plywood, you could go with a good frame job underneath your bench work and use half inch.
And now it has nothing to do about money.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with longevity and work. It has nothing to do with construction. I mean, I understand construction and fabbing and building and all of that.
Mhm.
It's just, I mean, I've built a couple of layouts that have lasted small amounts of time before they had to get torn down and moved, where this one is going to be here for years.
Okay, so it comes down to what thickness of plywood are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Well,
If you're going to use 3/4 inch plywood, then you don't have to support it a whole bunch.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go to 5/8 plywood, which makes it a little bit lighter, just as strong, you need to support it just like you support a drywall on a wall, every 16 inches.
And it has to do just like any other wood construction. If you're building a house, what you use for roof rafters or floor joists, the size of that material is based on the support span. So if you're supporting a hallway that's a hallway ceiling that's 6 feet wide, 4 feet wide, 6 foot wide, you can use 2x4. You can use if you're supporting that every 12 inches, which is a lot, you could probably get away with half inch. You might get away with 16, 18 inch spacing on 5/8. But if you're going to try to do what most of us do, and in some cases have 18 inches or even 2 feet between risers sometimes, 3/4 works, and the price difference is negligible, and the layout will last a lifetime.
Yeah, like I said, it has nothing to do with construction and adding supports and all of that. I got enough stuff laying around to do that.
Mhm.
But it just comes down to longevity, durability of it, I mean, it's like I said, I don't want to have to go back into it in 3 years to fix a curve because it warped, rippled, or curved when
Right.
doesn't have to. Piece of 3/4 inch plywood, yeah, I mean, no big deal. I got a couple of those laying around too.
Yeah. I don't know. I find that it's just people use such thick wood. They're not planning on climbing around on this thing and building, decks on it and stuff like that. They go overboard on the weight. And
It doesn't
really
have to
isn't
support a
necessary.
Buick.
Right,
Does
right.
not have to support a Buick. You're right.
So that's why I'm thinking 3/4 is overkill.
Well, I mean, like right now, I mean, I can walk around on my layout, and the simple fact of that is because 2x4s are some of the cheapest things to buy. I mean, you watch people build this bench work, and it's so pretty, and they build it out of 1x4s. You know that they're spending $8 to $10 a piece for. Where 2x4s are a couple bucks a piece.
Mhm.
So my layout is built out of 2x4s and 2x3s.
Yep.
It's the cheap, and with that, I mean, I can literally walk across it.
The problem you have with 2x4s is the closer you get, a 2x4 is not square, but the closer you get to square, the more likely it is to twist and buck because it has more strands and fibers of material that are fighting. So 4x4s, unsupported 4x4s or 2x2s twist around like a screw. Now a 2x4 will do that less, but even a 2x4 cannot be used unsupported. In a house, it must be supported on both sides by sheeting material. The benefit to 1x4 is the reduction of the tendency so it stays true and under varying humidity circumstances. So the reason people use 1x4s is not necessarily the reduction in weight, and they're paying more money for it. It's dimensional purity or dimensional accuracy. And if you really care about dimensional accuracy, the people who build very, very fine bench work, they rip 3/4 plywood down, AA or AC grade.
Yeah, you start to build cabinets.
No, they use birch. They're using birch plywood.
Yeah, that birch. Yeah.
There's a lot more.
Birch is cabinet ply.
Yeah.
That's right.
So they're starting to build cabinets.
Also, while we're here, because I'm watching the chat, but Eric said that, with all this discussion, with his layout, all he needed to do was support his VW Baja bug and a Plymouth.
But I'm a big fan of building super light benchwork. There's not a stick of wood in mine at the moment. But I've also run HO scale trains. The more I've been thinking about building an O scale layout, the more I would have to go back to a rivet or spline roadbed system. The weight becomes a consideration. The difference in 3/4 versus 1/2 inch plywood, I think, has zero to do with weight, and it has to do with the convenience of the span and lasting over a long time. Because I've used 1/2 inch plywood numerous times in my life before, and I always, every time, personally, many years ago, ended up with this humpy stuff. And with 3/4, you might have much less of that happen.
You probably used 1/2 inch plywood and you didn't support it properly.
That's exactly right.
That's why it did that.
That's right. I did 1/2 inch, and it done this. Once I went to 3/4, some of my earliest cookie cutter layouts were 1/2 inch plywood cut that way, and I ended up having this tendency. So I went in 3/4, and if I was using plywood, I would use 3/4 because the price difference is negligible, the weight difference is negligible, etc.
Yeah, 15 years ago, I built a one out of 5/8. I built it on a 4x8 sheet, and then I built it out of 5/8. And I guess I didn't support it right either. That's the whole thing. It had ripples in it. That's all I did.
Span distance. If you want to support it every foot, 5/8 is not a problem, and if you want to support it,
that's the whole thing. I know on that one there was way more support in it than what it should, but it's still rippled. Laying flat.
Yeah, Lloyd, MHO Junction said his entire layout's 1/2 inch, but he supported it every 16 inches with no problems.
So far, and maybe that'll work. I wish you the best.
It should work on 16-inch centers. He shouldn't have any problems with it rippling.
We'll see. All you can do is go.
But that's what Chris just said. He did one with 1/2 inch ply.
Yeah.
And spaced it 16 inches, and after time, it did the waves.
Gravity works on it.
I heard him say he didn't support it enough.
I may have not supported it enough. That's the whole thing. But I felt that I did it, and we're on a 4x8 table. It's not like a room size layout that I built it on. All right, and then built it on pillars, whatever, multi layers. But they would be some. Yeah. Actually, I know there's one thing where it was probably about a 10-inch gap because there was a track that went underneath it, and I had a column on either side, and then another track going over the top of it where they crossed each other, right? And so it had support, and there actually was a dip in between those two, and there was like only an 8 to 10 inch space there, and that was 5/8 plywood.
Well, and I think the testimony about if you want to experiment with stuff, by all means, I'm a big believer in that. I built mine entirely out of styrofoam, full on knowing that it was a complete experiment. I'm all for people experimenting, but if you want to build and know that it's going to work without any question whatsoever, you've got to look at the guys like Alan McClellan and Hediger and those guys who built layouts that lasted for 30 years. So the measuring stick can't be a few years. Gravity works over time. Houses don't fall down over 3 or 4 or 5 years. They fall down over 50. And if you intend, it all depends on what a person's goal is. If you're building a chainsaw layout, like Joe Fugit recommends people build, and I strongly believe that a person should build a chainsaw layout first. Build it knowing you're going to destroy it to build something better before long after. But if you're a couple layouts in and you need for this to be a lifetime project, or the hope is for it to be a lifetime project, don't take the risk. And even if it works for some people, the guys like Alan McClellan and those guys who built layouts that lasted for 30 or 40 years and run flawlessly, every single one of those guys is either using spline roadbed or 3/4 plywood.
All right. So, here's another thought that Greg brought up, which is a good point too, is that how many layers are in those sheets. That makes a big difference too. Because if you use a CDX grade or something like that, you're going to find it's got some really big voids in those plies. So that you lose strength there. I mean, most plywoods, they're only strong on their edges, like Eric said earlier, like the OSB and all. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you may have 7 layers, sometimes 5 layers.
yeah. If you get a
Usually 5. If you can
Yeah.
find 7, that's bonus.
yeah,
That's side grade or cabinet grade. 3/4 plywood is 7 layers. There is 9 layer,
You-
but that's exotic.
You
Mhm.
can get 5. You can get 1/2 inch and 5/8 with 7 layers as well.
But it's side grade, yes.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more expensive. The cheap stuff that everybody buys, the 7/16 1/2 inch, cheap stuff is like 3 layers with voids in it, and it's something fierce. If you get a better quality, that's another reason I like the AC grade plywood for the price difference. No voids, more layers, more dimensionally accurate.
well, here you go. Ron's changing things. My end scale layout is 1/2 inch AC plywood, supported every 16 inches. I have no issues, and it's been in place for 7 years.
I think also with my problem is the fact that it lives in like 90% humidity most of the year.
There's also a mathematical game here that we're not taking into account. I'm fully aware of people's anecdotal evidence, and I've done mine without wood, which is totally a bit crazy actually. Especially now that I'm looking back and thinking about it, it really feels a bit crazy. But individual people have all kinds of great experiences and support stories. The problem is, go look on the forums, Railline forums, Modern Weather Hobbies forums, etc. Go search for 1/2 inch plywood or something, and listen to the number of horror stories. Now, by all means, a person may have great luck with it. Heck, 10 out of 9 or 8 or 9 out of 10 people will.
Yeah, but you also got to look at where you live too, and the humidity.
and the grade of wood that you get.
The variation in humidity and heat and cold.
Yeah,
And the quality of wood that we get these days, it's cliche to say they don't make things the way they used to, but not that many years ago. I mean, we're not talking 100 years ago or something. You go back 20 years, wood was dried to some degree, or 30 years ago. It was dried. It had some shelf life before you got a hold of it. These days, if you buy a 2x4, it was a tree last week. So it's great as it can be. If you really want to be able to lay out, buy the wood, put it in the garage all winter long, let it dry out. Stack it up correctly, let it dry out for 3 or 4 months. That'll buy you a lot of benefits too. So there's so many variables in this that the only way I think a person can make a good decision is look at the statistical evidence. Ask 100 people that have done it in various ways and get a selection of answers. That's a great thing about the internet as a model railroader, is that you don't have an opinion. You have hundreds or thousands of opinions.
Okay. We've beaten the plywood jungle to death.
It's been a good debate. Good debate.
Michael Connolly had some questions. He wants to paint a locomotive, and he wants to know the best way to do it.
Krylon.
Ooh.
Especially with the Bachman.
Is it already?
So
Or is it one of those prime? Is it a prime shell or is it already finished?
what did he say? Got to go back a bit. Quite a bit, because you guys talked a lot. He has an S2 an S12, and an F7B. And I suggested that he soak them in alcohol, because depending on the road names that they are existing, if you paint over it, you're still going to see the separation lines, the color separation lines. They'll stand out because there's a ridge there. So if you can strip it off and then start from scratch.
Either that or you sand it prime.
Well, if you're going to sand it, you're going to lose surface detail.
This is true at that scale. I forget about that.
Okay.
kinda
So
with Andrew there.
Pardon?
I'm kind of with Andrew. Pay someone to do it. I don't have time for this.
Well, there's a couple of ways of doing it. You can get a proper paint stripper. That some Pactra Testers has one. There's another one called Chameleon, which I cannot get up here. You can also use 90% alcohol. Soak it in alcohol in a Tupperware container overnight, or maybe 2 days. And it should come off. I use a toothbrush, and the toothbrush gets into all the crevices and helps get it out. You can also use Easy Off Oven Cleaner. Easy Off Oven Cleaner, the one you spray on and wipe off, not the one that you bake. You spray it on, you wipe it off, and it does work, and it does not affect the plastic. Now, that said, the best paint remover that I've ever used was brake fluid. The only downside of brake fluid is it makes the plastic brittle. And if you just happen to squeeze it the wrong way, boom, it cracks and breaks after you've done that.
So it pretty much destroys the plastic, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It's like MEK.
Well, MEK melts it.
Yeah.
And we used to use brake fluid all the time many years ago on Athearn Blue Box and stuff. They were so thick, but with the grade of plastic we're getting on these new high fidelity cars, locomotives, man, I get a lot more worried about it.
Yeah, exactly. So then, the other way of doing it is to just give it a light coat of dull coat. If you don't want to do any of that, give it a light coat of dull coat, and then that will, because of the dull coat is a lacquer, it will meld or bond to the paint that's already there. It'll give you a flat surface for the new paint to grip onto, just like a primer does. And then you can paint it whatever color you want on top of that and do whatever you want. But use dull coat. Don't use Vallejo matte clear, because that stuff will peel off with your masking tape.
Limping through models with Nathan, he said once used a nail polish remover on a old DPM building to remove the spray paint, ended up melting the wall. Never again.
Yep.
Acetone. Acetone is effectively a methyl ethyl or something.
It's a glue.
That's right. You could use acetone to melt plastic to make bonds. It would act very slowly, but I use MEK direct for making bonds between plastic or styrene, and it's really fast. If I want to slow it down, I dilute it with acetone because it is also an adhesive. So I'll do, and some of the glues that you buy commercially, 10X7, etc., are effectively MEK with some acetone added to it, and maybe something else.
Yeah, Dwight said he used Simple Green.
Yes,
soaked it.
I've heard that too, but you have to soak it for a much longer time.
Yeah, a couple days, he said.
Simple Green, by the way, as a point, since you bring that up, is one of the best things in the world for the 3D parts that you can get from Shapeways. It takes that chemical or the stuff that they use.
The stickiness.
That's right, man. Nothing works like it does. And Traxler turns it onto it. And it is
alcohol.
Well, it does, but denatured alcohol is so stout. If you diluted it some with some 99% IPA, it might be better. But denatured alcohol does damage to some of the small parts. It too. It either makes them brittle or makes them harder to work with. Man, that Simple Green. I tried several things to actually soak that sticky, goopy crap out of some hollow 3D prints, and Ed Traxler turned me onto that Simple Green. And man, there's something weird about that stuff.
Yeah, you can't even dilute it with Coca-Cola. It still doesn't taste right.
That's right. It's got a little bars. At least you feel it hollow on the inside too.
Right.
So these new paints that they're coming out with, True Color, I believe it is. Yeah, True Color. All the Scale Trains products now are using True Color paints. And the thinner they use is acetone.
Is that the Badger stuff?
No, that's it's a product on its own, and it's not actually a paint. It's an acrylic ink.
Oh, that's good.
That's why you thin it with acetone.
I wonder what that would do for the airbrush rates over time. The airbrush rates are different.
Acetone, if you have the right neoprene ring that's in there, it should not affect it, because acetone lacquer, they're almost the same.
Yeah.
Now, True Color comes in a whole series of colors. They used to be called, what the hell was the name of it before? AccuColor, AccuPaint.
Yeah. Seems
But
like
it's not AccuPaint anymore. It's True Color.
this
And I
spray.
can't even show you the label because the sticker that was on the label, whoever peeled off part of the label. So
Does it spray as good as the Tamiya stuff with the acetone thinner? Can you get that?
it actually sprays better. It sprays better, but you're talking a very hot, volatile liquid. It's like a lacquer paint.
Yeah.
It's going and depending on how strong, you can get various grades of acetone. Same as lacquer thinner, and if you spray it with a really hot chemical, first off, it's gonna bond really nice to the plastic because it's going to eat into it, but it's not going to affect the shape of the plastic. So all the scale, the true, what am I talking about? Scale trains, locomotives, and cars are all painted with True Color paint, and they mark it right on the box.
They have some really beautiful finishes. That's hard to argue with. They have some of the better finishes that I've seen.
Even their pad printing that they put on these things is done with True Color paint.
And that's why you pay the big bucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I had this guy in, where is he from? New York area, New York State. Sent me an email and said, "Can you weather a locomotive for me?" And I said, "Yeah." So what locomotive you got? What do you want me to do to it? I'll just send it to you. So he sent me this Southern Pacific tunnel motor, and it's a rivet counter series. I get it in the mail. The box has not even been opened.
Just out of curiosity, before you started on it, did you at least put it on the tracking on it to see if
Yes, I did.
I thought you did. I would have.
That's the first thing I do before I start.
Yeah, I would have too, to make sure that it ran that way when I'm finished with it.
But the thing was, it was a sealed box. It's got the scale train seal on it, so I knew that it wasn't opened and played with.
Yeah, those are the best customers. You know, I mean, I've had a customer years ago, whatever, when I was still, and his car was 2 days old. He brought it in, he dropped it off, and he says, "Here you go, let's paint it." 2-day-old car.
Yeah. Well,
you have a good reputation for what you do. People don't mind. You know.
He said to me, "Just weather it." I says, "I can't just weather it. You have to tell me how you want it done. If you got a photograph that you're thinking of, a photograph of a prototype, yeah, I've got a few. Well, send them to me, and I'll use those to work from."
Perfect material.
Because you don't know what kind of area he wants to have it look like. You know, is it dark dirt? Is it light dirt?
It's Southern Pacific.
Yeah.
So he showed the pictures he sent me. It definitely had a lot of blacky grime on it. But you can't just put blacky grime on it without fading the gray. So that's the way it ended up.
Reference material. How much to weather it, right? Is it?
Yep.
Is it in service for 5 years, or is it in service for 15?
Well, I just hope he likes it now.
Because it's got rust on it.
Oh, it's got some rust on it.
Yeah.
I'll show you. Hang on. Since you're asking.
But does it come in N scale? What was it, SD40-2 that he said?
T.
Oh, no, it was tunnel motor. Okay, tunnel motor. Yeah, they don't make them in N scale yet. I'm waiting for my Dash 9, though. Should be coming out next month.
Yeah, you've been waiting on that for a while,
I
haven't you?
got the Marvel for your mom.
Yep. I think I'm getting 2 of them. I've looked at my pre-orders. I think I did order 2 of them. I think I got one in rivet counter and one in operator because they didn't make that style in rivet counter. I think I wanted the CB or CNW. So I was like, yeah, I'll get that one. Get one of those, one of each.
Oh, that's the top. So that's his picture had a little bit of charred paint underneath the dynamic brake, so I put a little bit there. Put a little bit more rust on top of the blower.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you did, or that's what he sent?
That's what I did.
Oh, that's nice.
Come on, this thing's not changing very quickly. And then it goes crazy.
It's like a light bulb. It has to watt to change.
Yeah.
Gotta love them dad jokes.
Oh my god.
I let that one go by.
I'm a dad, and I wouldn't let you say that.
So that's it.
That's nice.
Yep.
I didn't do it as bad as the Joe Fugate logo, but
Yeah, Sparky said that's real awesome work, Ralph.
thank you.
He just popped in.
Did any of you guys hear about what happened to Joe Fugate at his locomotive at the last National Train Show?
No.
The NMRA?
No.
His wife was helping him set up. I guess they were straightening some stuff out. This was on the Saturday, I guess. She hit the curtain that they have on the layout, and it just happened to, the layout did this, and the locomotive was on the front edge, and it went to the floor.
Ooh.
So all that work I put into it is no more.
I'm glad I got to see it. I even took a few pictures of it. It's a beautiful locomotive. I seen it at the National.
So it's completely destroyed. Did it glue it back together?
I don't know. I think he said he contacted Chris Palmieri,
Mm-hmm.
and Chris said he could fix it.
Hmm.
So I've tried to contact and reach out to Chris, and he's not responding because I wanted to know what he's doing to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured, since I'm the one that weathered it, I could help him if he's going to do that to the new parts.
Mm-hmm.
Should know what's on there.
Yeah.
But no response.
Hmm.
I even sent him a friend request on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I think he accepted it, but he still's not answering his messenger.
Yeah, they're pretty busy.
I was just going to say, I guess he's a busy boy.
Yeah.
But he's got time to play around with Ken Patterson.
Well, that's true. Does have that time. Or James, one of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to him July. Chris
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
at the RPM meet.
Right.
Mhm.
But that was
That was
a
July.
few weeks after.
In the NMRA show.
Yeah. So it happened. It probably ended up being done or got going or after I talked to him on fixing that. Because I don't remember him telling me anything about Joe Fugate's engine.
Mhm.
Yeah, Ron said that he's got a friend's DD40AX on his workbench that fell to a concrete floor.
I have another one. Do you want it, Ron? My dog knocked it off my layout.
Mm.
It still runs, but the back deck is all smashed all to hell.
Just the plastic's busted on it, or is the
Yeah, and of course they don't make that shell anymore. Then when I contacted them and I said, you know, you've put it back out again. You've reissued the model, but now they're doing it in DCC. And I said, well, maybe I can get the new shell. I'll pay for it. I'm willing to pay for it. I want to pay for this thing. Well, no, it won't fit. So what do you mean it won't fit? Well, we changed things.
Mhm.
okay? But can I buy one anyway? Because then you could still maybe cut back, chop, glue, and modify it, right? And make clean cuts and re-glue it back together.
Well, just let me show you here. I did exactly that.
Ron's asking what brand is it, Ralph?
It was Bachmann. They were the only one, other than Athearn. They made a blue box version of it, which I have 2 of. So there's the new one.
Can't see it. There. Oh.
And it has all the wiring for LEDs in it. It's got actually printed circuit boards for the lighting. And then it also has on the top a beacon which flashes when it's running.
Mhm.
But I put this up to the old one and it looks identical to me. But then what do I know? I'm just a dumb Italian.
Yeah, if it fits, wear it. Email them back, says, well, I don't think you changed enough to make it not fit the old one.
Well, this is it. I could probably have no problem making it fit. Although
Mhm.
their fastening points may have changed, I think.
Yeah.
But hey,
Yeah.
it is what it is. So my idea for this was to change it to Canadian National in the green and black paint job because I don't like Union Pacific, but that's my personal preference.
Yeah, Michael Conley said DD40s must need a 100-inch curve.
Actually, not. They have 4 trucks on them. Wait a minute. 2 4-axle trucks.
Mhm.
And they managed to maneuver around any curve I've gotten. The smallest curve I have is 22 inches, and it has no problem whatsoever.
Works fine on my end scale as well. I can go around a 15-inch curve easily.
Mind you, you don't want to go through your curved track work at lightning speed either.
No.
I was listening to a podcast today with Scotty Mason, and he was talking about track work, and that when you put a layout together, it shouldn't have anything less than number 8 curves or turnouts, curved or straight. And I'm thinking to myself, what world do you live in? Do you have a whole basement as a layout? Or do you just have a small layout? In a small layout, you have to give up some. Number 8 curve is a really large curve. What's that?
Yeah.
Almost 30, 32, 34 inches?
Yeah.
Mm.
Give or take. I mean, it's a 11-inch turnout, give or take, too, the virgin ground. I mean, the problem with any of these absolutes, whatever it is, if it's an absolute, you must do this one thing. They're not taking. There's too many variables to take into account for what you're doing. It all depends. What are you trying to model? How much space do you have to do it in? And what sacrifices are you willing to choose? If you're running
Exactly.
G40s and SW 1200s or something, you can make a lot different choices. The guys who are running 212-2s and big boys, these are very, very different layouts.
It's also
But you-
where the placement of those pieces are. I mean, if you have a turnout, okay, that you can't see that's in the back or whatever, and it's not going to affect your rolling stock, then why should you have a number 11 or a number 8 turnout versus a number 4? Why not save the space and be able to use it somewhere else if you can't visibly see it?
Mm-hmm.
It's the aspect of it too, I think, has to be taken into consideration as well.
Yeah. And Andy, to your point, 212-2 or whatever, some of the manufacturers, and in real life too, they've taken the center driver wheels, and taken the flanges off for tighter curves.
Right, they call them blind. They're blind drivers, B-L-I-N-D, blind drivers. I did that many years ago when I was like 13, 14, when I was a kid. I had a layout that had a hidden section of 13-inch radius, give or take, for a short distance, 13-inch radius track. That's all I could make work to cut around. It wasn't on a main line. It was on a lead to a coal loader. And my Jeep 40 or Jeep 38s would run just fine, but I couldn't run the 6-axle stuff, the SDs, obviously. So I took a dribble with a holding whatever, just blinded that driver, and then I could run, which actually it run better then than the Jeep 40s did around that really, really tight radius because of the spacing between the axles that were flanged. So,
Right.
So again, like I've said before, and I think we're all in agreement about that, model railroading is choose your own adventure novel format of choose your compromise. What
Absolutely.
compromise are you going to make? If you want to have super tight radiuses, there must be other compromises. If you really want to run really big equipment or brass locomotives that are tremendously finicky, then you must have more space, or you must much more confine the goal of the layout you're trying to model.
Here, take a look at this. This is on the Alaska White Pass. I don't know if you can see that, but let me just make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, blind drivers. Yeah, that center driver. That's what I did to my that SD40 is blinded that center driver. They got 2 blind drivers. No, just one set of blind drivers.
Oh, they took the flange off, basically?
Yeah. There's no flange on the center wheel.
Yeah.
And that was real common on narrow gauge equipment, but
And that's what it is up there, narrow gauge.
That's right, yes. And I think the Santa Fe Railroad had such problem with the 212-2s, because people always think these big articulators like big boys are the ones with your radius problems. Not at all. The whole reason that all the railroads ran articulated locomotives with small drivers, all them small wheel size, is because they would go around spectacularly tight curves. They look a little stupid doing it somewhat, but so did they on the prototype. It's these large, rigid locomotives, big mountains and Berkshires and Texans and Decapods and 212-2s, all those locomotives that are rigid, man, those are finicky. And if you're going to model steam, period, it's an entirely different railroad than a diesel railroad. The compromises are very different.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, well, we done hit the hour 10 mark here. And I'll let you know, farm mechanic, yeah, I saw the name on there. I'll have to try and figure out how to change that. I'm totally new to Twitch. Tonight's show has got Bill's show's title on it, so.
I fixed that.
Huh?
I already fixed that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I fixed that 2 minutes after. As soon as he said something, they said something shortly after starting.
Yeah, well, okay, I just didn't refresh, so.
Yeah, no worries.
Alrighty, so I want to say appreciate everybody coming in. Guys that haven't, they're new to the chat here, but probably been watching us for a while. Appreciate y'all coming on in here. Let those that don't know yet, we are streaming simultaneously and in sync to 4 social medias now. We're doing YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. And twitch.tv is the one that really has the best video and audio. They also have chat there, so if you're having problems with YouTube maybe buffering on you, you might try the Twitch TV and just search Mall Railroading Live. I started putting the link in the post, so all you gotta do is click the link and that should take you straight to it with no trouble. And let's see, we've got Big Bill coming back on October the 2nd. Let's see if I can do this from memory. With who's Big Bill talking to? He'll be talking with Nick Massey of Imagine That Laser Art. That'll be a good show. Then I think what we got, October the 8th will be the Bill show with Andy and the crew. And then October the 9th will be Big Bill again. And he'll be talking to Lex Parker about his layout and all. So October's going to be a little bit of a busy month, but that's okay. You get to see Big Bill twice in 1 month. I guess we'll have to start charging.
Oh,
And if Lex is going to take you on a tour of his building, his layout, make sure you don't miss the show. His modeling is spectacular.
Yeah, that's the reason why we record it.
Yep.
So you can go back on YouTube and rewatch it again. And okay, so with that said, have a good weekend. Be careful. Actually,
He's so quiet.
this is the end of the month, so yeah. Next weekend's going to start in October, so there you
Johnny,
go.
there's something wrong.
What?
Andy's quiet.
I am sometimes.
Okay. We'll give you that one.
I only put 2 quarters in his pocket tonight.
Oh, all right. Okay. So we only got the 50-cent show.
Yeah.
All right.
look, for an hour 15, you needed to add another time.
Well, we've had a good discussion tonight, so with that said, we will say good night and have a good weekend. See you next week.